12:04 of special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Can I get a roll call? Oh, good. I'm sorry. We'll get a roll call in just a moment.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
No worries.
Commissioner Anna Hansen.
Present.
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Present.
Commissioner Henry Roybal.
Here.
Commissioner Rudy Garcia.
Present via Zoom.
Okay. Chair Anna Hamilton.
Here.
Okay, all present and accounted for.
Excellent. Thank you. So can are there any changes to the agenda, or can I get a motion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There is one change to the agenda. We're having a presentation by the facility staff, the warden and staff here, and then we'll adjourn the meeting. So we'd move adjournment as they give the presentation, and then we'll go to the facility, but we won't have a quorum. We'll be broken into separate groups, so there's no more than 2 commissioners in a group, and do the inspection in the facility.
Excellent. That makes sense. So with that change, what's the pleasure of the board? Yeah, thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, I'd like
Madam
to
Chair.
make a motion for approval with the changes that Manager Miller has indicated.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. So I have a motion.
For
and a second.
discussion,
Oh, yes,
Madam
go
Chair,
ahead.
just regarding the, how are we going to have 2 or 3 different commissioners when we meet at the facility? Are we just going to be separated over there, or are we just going to do different times? How does that work?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Garcia will be broken into 3 separate groups. No more than 2
Okay, so we'll all
commissioners
be
in a group.
Awesome, great. So we'll be there at the same time, but we'll just be separated, right?
Yes. It's a big facility. You can easily be far away from each other.
I know
Maybe
the
besides,
facility I know the facility. So, but thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? So we have approved the agenda, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we have matters of public concern listed.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, having matters of public concern isn't required by our rules of order, but we felt it not inappropriate to add it in this case, given the topic being, the adult detention facility. So we did that, I guess, out of an abundance of caution, so that if anybody did want to address the board, they would have the opportunity to do so, generally relative to this topic.
And is that intended to, we do that now or after the presentation? That's not explicit.
Oh, I understand the question now better. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's at the pleasure of the board how you want to run the meeting. So you could do it now and
Why don't we
put
do
that
it now?
order to rest.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the clarification. So is there anybody present or that's a member of the public or on WebEx who cares to address the board? Once again, is there anybody calling into this meeting who wishes to address the Board of County Commissioners? Hearing none, I am going to close matters from the public and go to our presentation. And so who is starting us out? Warden, are you starting us out on the presentation? No. Oh, please, then you're up. And I apologize, it's just the old.
Proud warden of the Santa Fe County Detention Facility. Behind me, I have brought some of my management staff who will, when the presentation starts, they will begin to speak briefly about their respective departments, and hopefully they answer any questions you have. And then, of course, we look forward to seeing you folks at the facility for the tour. Before I go into the presentation, I just wanted to speak real briefly about a few details of the institution. It was built in 1998. It has a capacity to hold up to 600 inmates. Thankfully, we've never had to get close to that point. We house local, meaning municipal, county. We house state, referring to adult probation and parole. And we house federal with our U.S. Marshal Service contract, and also some tribal from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So those are the groups of inmates that we house in our facility. And they range from, it's a multi-custody, so we range from low-level misdemeanor, full-blown misdemeanor offenses, such as DWIs, all the way up to murder. We have an intense classification process on how we screen intakes coming into our facility. And when Ms. Arbayo starts to speak a little bit about her department, she'll kind of touch on that. We have 203 full-time budgeted employees at the correctional facility. And Daniel, can we go to the first slide there? This is the mission statement. I won't read it verbatim, but it speaks of the safety, the security, the utmost professionalism standards that we commit ourselves to, and the staff commits themselves to, and we take that very seriously. Daniel, next slide, please. Okay, and this is, so I just wanted to capture the 4 departments that have the most significant vacancies. As I mentioned earlier, we have 203 FTEs, full-time employees, but the ones that come up the most are the officers. These are our detention officers. This does not encompass our sergeants, corporals, lieutenants, and captains, but we have 79 FTEs, full-time employees for detention officers. And you can see in 2020, we had 13 vacancies, so we were doing very well. In 2021, it started to go up a little bit. We had 21, and between January of 21 to present, we're now at 32 vacancy. Although I will add, we've had union negotiations recently, and we were able to agree on some really outstanding salary increases and benefits for our staff. And within the last 2 months, that 32 vacancy about a month and a half ago was close to 40. So we are starting to see applicants coming back in, and we're starting to slowly get people into our academies again. So it's a very positive sign for us. With officers, with that vacancy, we've done 2 things. One, the supervisors, or first-line supervisors, being our corporals or sergeants, and even our lieutenants, they all participate quite frequently in filling in that gap where there's vacancies. So they'll fill on their days off, or they will fill a position of an officer. Thankfully, our population was pretty fairly maintained, but one of the other aggressive steps we've taken to ensure that we have an appropriate balance of staff to inmate ratio was we removed our U.S. Marshal population. So we have the ability to do that since we have a contractual services through them. And of course, once we start getting more officers out of the academy and that vacancy starts to go down, we will slowly start bringing back our U.S. Marshal population. With our nurses, so this encompasses both our registered nurses and our LPNs. We started off with 5 vacant between them in 2020, and then now we have 9. Now, we do have 2 contracts through agency nursing companies, and through that, thankfully, we've been able to successfully secure some individual contracts with nurses who are filling some of those vacancies of that 9. So we're actually doing okay in that area. Of course, we're always looking for more applicants to become county employees. Behavior health, these are licensed therapists, and Mr. Boshelli will speak to them here momentarily, but we do very well in this area, and I really give a lot of praise to Mark for that, because he's been using internship through behavior health, through some of the colleges, and I'll have him speak about that. But we have 3 vacancies right now, but I think he has 2, you have 2 interns right now? He has 2 interns right now. So they, between the internship, Mr. Boshelli himself, and then the licensed therapists we maintain very well. Case management, we have 4 vacancies right now. So we lost 4 of them last year. And as far as reasons for leaving, I mean, it varies. Some of them, corrections isn't the right fit for them. Some of them have found closer jobs to the residencies, being a lot of our staff travel from Bernalillo, all the way from Moriarty, all the way towards Espanola. So especially during COVID, we saw that a lot of staff were looking for jobs closer to homes. And so total, just out of that group, there's 111 FTEs, full-time employees, and there's 48 vacancies. But as I mentioned, I think we've been very progressive as far as moving forward, hiring people, and a lot of that was attributed to the manager's office and to our union negotiations, what we had to offer there. I think we're right at the top of the highest paid facility in the state right now, as is. And we're continuously getting phone calls from different agents, the corrections department and other facilities, where people are inquiring about coming to work for us. So I think that's a really great thing to see for us. I'm not going to speak too much more because I'll start cutting into some of their presentation. But before I step away, I just want to reiterate the fact that I'm very proud of our facility, and I think the board will be very honored and proud also when you guys come down and have the chance to walk through and meet with their staff. This is probably the cleanest and safest facility I've seen in the state, and I've been to almost every facility, and I know Mr. Page has, my deputy warden, I don't think he's ever formally met the board before, but I'll have him stand up real quick. It's Robert Page. He also came from the Department of Corrections. He's with us, and that's it. I'll go ahead to the next slide, and we'll start the presentation for you.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to, didn't do it earlier, but to thank everybody for coming here and doing the presentation here and making that effort. It's all of you really very appreciated.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Garcia. I have some comments for the warden, but whenever you're ready, I will comment. Thank you.
Okay, I think, I appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind. I think we'll let them do the presentation, and then we'll be able to open it up for questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Jess Carballo. I'm the booking manager, classification manager of the facility. Basically what I do, and I just want to speak on what I do exactly at the facility, it gives you an idea. So I oversee the overall administrative and judicial housing classification portion of the facility. Booking being the overall judicial proceedings, case review, inmate records. I oversee all of that. And I work closely with the arresting agencies, court venues, all court venues, district attorney's office, public defenders, contractual agreements, and our holding accommodations that we hold at the facility. I work closely with them as well. The judicial coordination and the inmate transportation, the legal side of it or the administrative side of it as well. As far as classification and housing, that's also something I oversee. So the classification portion of where inmates would go, my staff is trained to basically go through an assessment and determine where an inmate would be housed or classified, depending on his classification. And that's based on different criteria. Basically, what I also have and wanted to share was the average daily population. Our average daily population has actually decreased by about 50% since COVID started, which was about January all the way on to April of 2020. So if you guys can see, there's a huge decline right now. At that time, our average daily population was about 430 average. Right now, it's about 230 average as well. So it's stayed down. There's different reasons for it. Of course, housing has been accommodated. Arresting agencies have also accommodated as far as administrative orders. So there's been summons issued as opposed to arrest on petty misdemeanors. Is there any questions? Daniel?
Are there any questions on this particular?
Yeah,
Yes,
Commissioner.
Commissioner Hughes?
I just didn't hear the number you said. What's the current population?
Currently, our average daily population is about 230.
230, thank you.
Correct, yes.
Commissioner Garcia, did you have questions on this topic? We're going to try to stay pretty topical, and then we'll go to the general ones at the end.
No, Madam Chair.
Thank
I'll
you.
actually just give some basic comments towards the end of the presentation.
Sounds great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Oh, well, I think that was it pretty much. It's still, this one, it indicates the intakes and releases, which I also oversee. It's the same thing. It's basically decreased by 50%. If you can see in 2018, intakes and releases probably, it just washes out pretty much. And then 2021 does the same, but you can see the intakes were almost at about 9,000. It reduced by a significant amount, which is almost 50% there. We're currently, that's an annual number. So right now we're at 230 as far as daily average. Questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Just on that slide, I just want to make a note too. Daniel, could you go back just for a sec? So that, a lot of times we focus on the daily count, but I think that number at the bottom, that average count, is really important because even though our today's count is 230, 234 maybe, 6,433 people have been brought through that front door and ultimately brought back out. That's how many people that we're assessing, we're doing intakes on, medical screenings, security screenings, classification, and processing. So next slide, please, Daniel.
Wait, before you go on, I mean, it occurs to me there's another question on this, which is for the variety of reasons that the numbers, the annual average intakes and releases decreased because of COVID? Do you expect them to go back up?
Well, I'm sorry, that last
Do you
part?
expect them to, is there reason to expect them to go back up, or do some of those reasons represent changes that are long-term?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that have happened. One, when COVID happened, the courts, through the judges, had worked with law enforcement to start having more discretion on threat assessments during when they make an arrest versus when they cite people to go to court. That played a huge role. Also, we had, here in Santa Fe County, we already have really day-to-day follow-up from our courts as far as who's in custody and making sure they're being seen and determined if they need to stay in custody or not. But there was definitely an amplified effort towards that when COVID hit. The marshals, as I mentioned earlier, that was over 120 inmates that we at one time had with U.S. Marshals that was reduced. So all those kind of variables took into play as far as that count coming back down. Before, if I went back further than 2018, you would see that average intake up to about 10,000. I think it'll progressively start coming back up again, hopefully not to where it was before. But yes, ma'am, it will start going back up at some point.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide, Daniel. Okay, so this was pretty important for me to talk to you guys about too, because you see there doctor consultations. So we have a dedicated county physician, Dr. Olivares. He's been with our county for several years. He's a tremendous asset. And this really just kind of shows the significance of what an asset he is. So doctor consultations, you see there, this is based off of all year of 2021, all the intakes. So you got over 4,700 intakes. Dr. Olivares personally, 72% of those individuals 3,451 he's personally been involved in having assessments on. That's probably far more than you would find any physician at a hospital doing consultations on individually. Out of that, 4,789 medical admissions, that basically means that those are inmates whose health concerns or issues were so significant they couldn't be housed in general population. At one point in time or another, they ended up getting housed in medical, where we have 24-hour medical supervision. So that's 25.8% of the population. That speaks volumes. Hospital referrals, so 155, which is a lot. And when you see the bills, you really see it's a lot. It's 3.2%, but 155 out of that 4,700, their health conditions were so severe that Dr. Olivares had to refer them out, and they ultimately ended up on a transport to a local hospital where, of course, we use manpower to maintain 24-hour supervision of them while they're getting medical care. I'll move to the next slide unless the commission has any questions about that, but I thought that was important to address. Okay, next slide, Daniel. Okay.
Let's see if we can make this happen. Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Mark Bochelli. I'm the mental health manager. I'm now in my 4th year here at this facility. Basically, I followed my patients here. This is why I work here. I'm a licensed clinical counselor. In addition, I'm a licensed substance abuse counselor, so I hold both licensures. I found that to be useful as I started working with this population. Upon graduation from graduate school back in the 80s, so we're talking MTV era, I got out and was working on the first mobile crisis team in the nation, and this was in central Illinois. During that time, we focused on suicide assessment, prevention, as well as identifying mental illness issues. Additionally, I consulted at 2 emergency rooms and a detention center, thinking that I think I understand how to do this work. Well, I came to New Mexico, spent the next 28 years of my career in Santa Fe, clinically directing outpatient community mental health centers for Presbyterian Medical Services. We focused on treating of the hardest to treat individuals with mental illness, as well as co-occurring substance abuse issues, as well as homeless population. I helped start the first mobile crisis team here in Santa Fe County. I helped start the first assertive community treatment team here in Santa Fe County. I was also the clinical director at the 2 school-based mental health centers. Simultaneously, I spent 10 years as a professor at the Law Enforcement Academy, here training cadets on mental health issues, how to identify crises, and how to work with individuals with both mental health and substance abuse issues. I also worked 2 years as an adjunct faculty member at Highlands University. While at PMS, I was a member of the clinical team which expanded Suboxone treatment and prescriptions to 6 of the PMS federal qualified healthcare centers in northern New Mexico. The idea was to combat this opioid use disorder. Prescriptions were to be partnered with psychoeducational skills classes on a weekly basis. Clients signed contracts. Those contracts were specific. We were to only use our Suboxone to combat opioid use disorders and never take any other substances. Additionally, you had to follow up for treatment to learn new skills. I was assured Suboxone could not be abused. During this period of time, I also tracked my clients. Even though I oversaw 6 agencies, I still kept my own caseload, as well as the caseload of the assertive community treatment team members. I found out that they went into jail often and repeatedly due to the inability to follow basically court instructions. I figured out that mental illness had become criminalized. The arrests of these individuals with mental illness were primarily trespassing arrests. Additionally, I served as a behavioral health professional consultant on the initial construction of this new jail, and I was on the oversight committee making sure that behavioral health services were implemented at the jail. I knew about the research indicating that jails were the new psychiatric centers after deinstitutionalization and closure of the large psychiatric centers. In high school, I even toured Cook County Jail. I come from Chicago. That was kind of prerequisite. If you're going to go into mental health, social work, you're going to go tour Cook County Jail. I saw firsthand what a large jail looks like with mental health and substance abuse issues. Currently, I spend my weekends down at UNM Psychiatric Center as a clinician, seeing basically the same clients that come out of jail, sometimes move down to Albuquerque, and I treat them down at the psychiatric center. I thought I was ready for what I walked into. I was not ready for the profound substance abuse issues presented by clients here at the jail. And basically, but I felt assured that I could address the mental health issues. Give an example. One of my clients with severe mental illness was incarcerated for 10 months here upon the jail. I knew the mental illness, I knew the medications that she was prescribed, but upon release, all of a sudden she had this new diagnosis. She says, I need a prescription for Suboxone. I was like, there's no substance abuse disorder here. No, she was addicted to Suboxone. Basically, I do my presentation to tell you I've been schooled. The jail is a large behavioral health center housing both co-occurring mentally ill individuals and substance abusing clients. With that, I go into the slide of our withdrawal protocol. And I want you to notice that this is a snapshot of the last quarter of October, November, December of 2021. The opiate withdrawal process for a 5-day withdrawal process. In October, 55, November, 45, summarily, December, 30. But all of a sudden, we noticed that was not enough to help these individuals complete their withdrawal process from opiates. When I talk about withdrawals, I'm not just talking about simple withdrawals. This is profound substance abuse. Each of these individuals indicated they didn't just use a little opiates. All of a sudden, we found out that fentanyl had flooded the streets, so we had to double our withdrawal protocol to 10 days, helping them, those individuals, with palliative methods of helping them with their cramps, with the diarrhea, stomach upset, headaches, helping these individuals for now 10 days due to the fentanyl increase usage of our clients who are coming in. Additionally, we have this layered look during the withdrawal process. In reality, alcohol and benzodiazepine withdrawal is much more difficult and much more dangerous to the client. I know there's this misnomer that opiates withdrawal is the stuff that's going to kill people. It is not true. It is heavy use of alcohol, heavy use of benzodiazepines, and immediate abrupt stoppage of that causes seizures and death. We have a whole protocol utilizing benzodiazepines such as Librium to slowly titrate those individuals down. So we know how to handle alcohol. We know how to handle benzodiazepine substance abuse. But it is the rest of this withdrawal process that you see continuously through the medical portion of those individuals who are housed in medical going through withdrawal. So I just want to give you a little insight what our numbers are. Next slide, please. As I'm saying, I'm doing the behavioral health portion. My hunch was, even though our population went down, overall population had decreased by 30%, and now is up to 50%. I'm kind of going, something's a little askew here. So what we notice is the number of inmates prescribed psychotropic medications at this facility is an indicator of individuals with mental illness, while the population of the facility as a whole has decreased. the percentage of inmates with psychiatric issues has increased dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's see. Is there one to go back on? Can you go back one? Who's? Oh, I apologize. Oh, can you go back one slide, please? There we go. So the behavioral health component, we have 6 licensed clinicians on board. You as commissioners, you are robustly funding this facility as a behavioral health center. I applaud you. It's the way to do it. There's not many places like this. Our primary focus is suicide assessment, intervention, and prevention. Once again, we must keep people alive. Coming into jail can be a very dramatic experience for anybody off the streets, as well as people who have a professional career. So we're always assessing people. We actually do know how to intervene, one of my specialties. Additionally, our second level of care is crisis intervention. A lot of times when people get told what their sentence is, we have to work with them afterwards to help them cope with that experience. Thirdly, we assess for the need for psychotropic medications for psychiatry. We have a full-time psychiatric prescriber on board. We will help make those referrals to that prescriber to get medications to them. So we are full-fledged psychiatric behavioral health system going on here. Finally, we have a behavioral health programming component. A lot of this has been postponed and put on hiatus due to the COVID-19, but one of the programming that we will talk about is our Matrix program. During this time, I had the same issue as any behavioral health director, workforce development issues. In other words, no one wanted to work. No one who was a licensed clinician wanted to come beyond our gates. I sat around a little bit stupefied by this, but then I started thinking, you know, in fact, what I have here is a ripe place for learning. I sat back going, even though I can't seem to attract licensed clinicians who have been in the field, what I can do is open up our site for face-to-face clinical experiences for master's and doctorate level individuals to come and do their clinical work. So I put feelers out to 3 different universities I'm associated with. At first, we got crickets. Eventually, people said, you know, no one else is allowing us to see clients. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we continued to see clients face-to-face. We were one of the rare sites between the emergency room and the detention center. As a result, we started to get interns. Internships last approximately 6 weeks for a clinical internship. We even do practicum internships, which is 3 months prior to an internship. So as a result, currently, we have 4 universities signed up. We have an intern currently on the waiting list. Who would have ever thought of that? We've had 9 successful graduates out of our internship program. Of those graduates, 3 of those individuals have come out with employment. We're currently about ready to hire our 4th graduate intern into our program. And additionally, we have 2 current interns who are both voicing interest in coming on board on a permanent basis here at this detention center. So something might be going right here. Once again, it's a right place for learning. Next slide, please. And then the next slide again. What do we do? Most of our days, we are dealing with suicide assessments. You can see it's broken out into a monthly basis. For some reason, we had a lot of suicide assessments during December. Really, seasonal average doesn't really change too much for us. We spend our time doing suicide assessments. Second to that, we spend our time doing crisis interventions, trying to get people through their crises. We show you the numbers of the psychiatric referrals to our psychiatric provider. And then the last 3 little columns there are our interdisciplinary team meeting. We wanted to showcase that because we actually run an IDT, an interdisciplinary team. This includes administrative staff, custody staff, security staff, nursing staff, medical staff, and the behavioral health team. We focus on those individuals who are hard to treat, who might be decompensating, who are in danger of not doing well. We intercede, and then we start getting them ready to go back into the community. So this is our focus. I run a quick meeting, half hour, boom, we do it, but we focus on those individuals so we have a heads up what's going on. Next slide, please. This is our fourth quarter stats on mental health watches. These are individuals who have been placed into the medical unit. At times, I've been accused of taking over the medical unit, making it into a psychiatric floor. I am guilty of that. That is our population. So you will see in October 14, November 19, December 28 total. Those are mental health watches. These are individuals that need a 15-minute behavioral health watch. We are both partnered with the custody medical officer as well as behavioral health staff, looking and watching and observing these individuals for 15 minutes, every 15 minutes for 24 hours until they are cleared from that experience. Additionally, the stats on the bottom is the suicide attempts in October 1 and 1 in December. Those are the serious suicide attempts. Unlike the mental health watches, which really contain individuals who are off their psychotropic medications, individuals who might needing to be on psychotropic medications, individuals who are withdrawing for substances and saying as a result of withdrawing for substances that they're suicidal, thinking that they would be brought to the hospital. Nope, we contain them here at this facility. So the constant watches are the individuals that we have to do eyes on 24 hours a day, and that's usually through the partnership with security staff, and unfortunately I burden them with that task, trying to keep them from killing themselves. Both of these instances, both of these individuals ended up being transferred to the medical hospital here in town due to the seriousness of their attempt and hurting themselves, not due to the psychiatric issues, but due to the medical concerns after the attempted suicide. If anything, we did not have any deaths during that quarter. I want to emphasize that we can help inmates through suicidal crisis successfully. We know how to do it. We do it every day. Next slide, please. The highest echelon of treatment at our facility is called the Matrix program. Once again, we are a very large behavioral health program. We have psychiatric clients and we have substance abuse clients. This is an evidence-based program. What that means is it is replicable, and as you replicate this program over and over, you get the same results. So it's an evidence-based program. It is a 30-day program focusing on recovery and relapse prevention. We utilize motivational interviewing. That comes out of University of New Mexico, one of my mentors. In addition, we use mindfulness skills. We are giving people replacement skills. We assume these people just don't know how to make it in this world. So we are not ashamed, we're not abashed. We assume they need skills, and we practice skills with them. The outcomes for this program include a decrease in recidivism and an increase in sobriety. Next slide, please. Just want to give you an overview of the Matrix program. Once again, it's been on hiatus since March of 2020 due to the COVID-19 epidemic and having to space individuals out. But prior to that, we had a separate pod for both males and females. We did 9 rounds of the Matrix program, teaching people skills, working with them, doing UAs, urine analysis to see if they're still using substances. Out of these 9 rounds of the males, we had 50 who graduated. For the females, we did 5 rounds of the Women's Matrix program. We had 31 who graduated. When you start looking at the recidivism rate, and that is, have they returned back to the detention center? Up until basically March 31st, 2022, the male Matrix graduates, only 2 have reoffended. That is a 4% recidivism rate. Of the women's Matrix graduates, 2 of these graduates have reoffended. That's a 6.5% recidivism rate back into the detention center. Please compare that to national norms. The national norms are a minimum of 65% recidivism rate for treatment for those individuals with no treatment at all. So we are in the process of reinitiating the Matrix program. As of today, we have 30 applicants who want to join the Matrix program. I'm not sure if they know what they're in for, but we have 30 people who have applied, and we hope to have it restarted within the next month. Okay, finally, next slide, please. The topic of medication-assisted treatment is always on everybody's tongue. We know there's 3 approved medication-assisted treatment protocols that have been approved by the FDA. We have chosen one of these 3 approved, FDA-approved medication-assisted treatment programs. We've utilized naltrexone. The common brand is known as Vivitrol and Revia. Revia is the oral form. We start to do a challenge so that they don't have any reactions. And Vivitrol is an IM injection. There's a reason that we use naltrexone. Naltrexone is non-opiate based. And in addition, it's intramuscularly administered. So no one can divert this substance out of their body to somebody else in this facility. In the fourth quarter of 2021, we administered 9 to 9 individuals, administered in November to 8 individuals, December 10 individuals, total of 27. One thing I need to say is that we have a partnered agency in the community that also does naltrexone. That would be Santa Fe Recovery. Additionally, Santa Fe Recovery uses the Matrix program. So graduates from the Matrix program are ready to go into treatment facilities, already sober, already thinking well, already off of substances, and then ready to continue on with their treatment. The next part of this presentation is done by my colleague, who actually has a more vivid tale than me. He is a person of lived experience. So, Josh, would you like to continue?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, County Manager Miller. Thank you for having us this afternoon. So my name is Joshua Trujillo. I am the Community Reentry Specialist at the Santa Fe County Jail. I am also a certified peer support worker, which means I'm a person of lived experience in long-term recovery from substance use, and I am also a former inmate of the very jail that I work in. So as Mark was speaking on this, one of the big motivators for me to stop using drugs was I was sick and tired of coming in to different jails throughout the state and having to go through withdrawal. And, you know, on top of being a certified peer support worker and a community reentry specialist, my former position was in Pecos Valley Medical Center. I was the MAT program coordinator. So, you know, I was coordinating a program that was based on Suboxone, and I have seen it work great in many settings. However, from my lived experience, it is not a medication that works very well in a jail setting. As our SEIU unit will speak on later, it comes with a high currency value and is highly abused. You know, I really like the Vivitrol option personally because, for one, going through the withdrawals was a big motivator for me to stop reoffending and to stop using drugs. But also the Vivitrol really offers somebody the stability that they need to help curb cravings without having to go through diversion or withdrawal. Because if you stop taking this medication, there is no withdrawal symptoms. So now that we are being able to educate our population about this, they're beginning to become very interested in this because they like the sound of this curbs cravings, blocks opiates, and I don't go through withdrawal when I stop. So if you look at the slide, you know, reentry, really what we focus on is the reintegration services with individuals who are seeking or court ordered to inpatient or outpatient services for mental health and substance abuse. You know, within Santa Fe County, Santa Fe County, in an effort to reduce recidivism and give individuals who are reentering the Santa Fe County community the tools they need to become responsible, productive members of the Santa Fe County community. So a big part of what we do is we focus on individuals who have been ordered to an inpatient treatment bed for substance abuse. over the year of 2021, we were able to successfully get 89 individuals into different treatment center beds, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, or even longer. Over the last 6 months of 2021, as most places, we had a shift in staffing. We had a couple of reentry specialists leave within the same week of each other. One retired, one left to another position. And so I was tasked with handling reentry in the community, in the detention center by myself. So in that time, I really got a lot of good support from our other staff, from my supervisor, from the warden, from everybody kind of chipped in and helped things work out. And so, in fact, instead of having a reduction in numbers, we actually had an increase in productivity. We've been able to really shorten bed times and make it into where, when I first started 2 years ago, to get into a 90-day treatment center would take about 2 months. To get into a 6-month treatment center was taking about 5 or 6 months. We have been able to reduce this wait time to about 2 weeks to get into a 90-day center and about 3 to 5 weeks to get into a 6-month center. So we're being able to really build on the relationships that we have with community partners and really shorten that gap and bridge the services to where we have even warm handoffs with reach-in reentry through the LifeLink is coming into the jail, doing intakes with people and helping us with even transportation for those who can't get to treatment on their own. Can I get the next slide, please? So if you see here, the numbers that we have, we track different things. One of the things is Medicaid enrollment and Medicaid reinstatement. So when we have individuals who are getting released from the Santa Fe County Adult Detention Center, often they will be on medications or be going into a treatment center. And at that time, it's very vital for us to make sure that their Medicaid has been reinstated and that they're able to have no gaps in service when it comes to medical coverage. If somebody gets released and their Medicaid is not activated or they're not enrolled in this, then they get to the pharmacy says your prescription is going to cost such and such, they don't have it, then they don't take the medications that Mark and some of our staff have been so great at making sure that they have access to. Also, if they get to a treatment center and they do not have insurance, they will be turned away. So, we're doing a great job of being able to track those who come into the facility and they don't have insurance, making sure we get them enrolled, and those who have existing insurance, it gets suspended as soon as they become incarcerated. Once they've been incarcerated for 30 days, it automatically gets suspended, but we make sure that we track them, and when they're on their way out the door, we make sure to reinstate it. That way they do not have any gaps in service. When you look at the last quarter, each month, with the exception of December, December is usually a pretty slow month for treatment referrals. We average usually about 3 people leaving from our facility into a treatment center bed every single week. So, while the numbers may look a little bit small on the graph, this is a constant thing that is quickly moving and moving and moving. We also have individuals who, they're getting released from jail and they're really scared. They don't have anywhere to go. They don't want to use drugs anymore, but they don't know what else to do. And since we've been able to really beef up our relationships with these treatment centers, we're being able to line people up with an interview and medical clearance and get them set up to where they have a bed waiting for them when they get released from jail. And that's been a huge factor, because what I've seen is that the recidivism of those who engage in reentry services has gone down greatly. When I first started, what I was seeing was a lot of people that would leave to treatment and then they're back in 2 weeks. And then, somebody else leaves to treatment and they're back in 1 week. And we're really having a great deal of people being able to actually connect to the services that they're seeking and then actually stay in their bed. Something else I wanted to touch on was our outpatient. Can you please go to the next slide? So outpatient referrals, so this is different outpatient referrals that consist primarily of non-court ordered mental health and substance abuse reentry referrals. So these appointments are made for outpatient services within our community partners prior to release. And this is to increase individuals' ability to connect to the services they need in order to reduce recidivism and promote recovery. So not everybody is really willing or able to go to an inpatient bed. Some people, when they're leaving our facility, they have responsibilities, they have kids, they have bills to pay. They're like, I can't go to another bed. I need to, make sure I can pay my rent. So we're able to connect them, primarily through services in Santa Fe County, and a lot of times being able to do a warm handoff with these services. That way there's really no kind of wiggle room or bridge the gap. We can get them set up with appointments and intakes before they leave the facility. That way we don't just tell them, okay, here's a good program you can go to, have fun, and send them out the door. Instead we connect them directly. We get them on the phone with somebody. They're connected. They're on a first name basis, and that gives them the ability to know where they're walking into. That way the fear is lessened, and they're better able to show up for themselves in this way. We don't have any data on this at this time because it wasn't something that was being tracked before this. And part of why we track all these numbers is so that we can do better at our job. We can catch, the different trends and see what are we missing, what are we catching, what are we doing well, what could we improve. And one of the things we weren't tracking is the outpatient referrals. And this was just came up in February. So I recently started tracking. So far in the month of March, we had 9 successful referrals into different programs for outpatient services, whether it's medication-assisted treatment or mental health services. We're able to plug these people in. That way there was no gaps in service. I think this might be my last slide. Can we go over one slide? Okay, so programming, and I'll touch on this because a lot of the programming that, I watch on a daily basis, Christopher Bradley, he's a busy guy. He's always up and down the hallways. He's working the whole facility, and he's making sure that inmates have access to these programs. And these programs aren't just, something to look good for the community. These are programs that work. These are programs, some of these I've utilized myself and have been extremely beneficial to my recovery. And so with that, I'd like to hand it over to Christopher Bradley. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Rudy.
Go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
I know it's not time for questions and answers yet. However, the gentleman just spoke as into what you talked about. When I get to my questions and comments, I will bring that stuff up because you do an excellent job, and thank you for doing what you do for the facility. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, and County Manager Miller. My name is Christopher Bradley. I have been with Santa Fe County Corrections for almost 12 years. I started out in the mailroom, was a case manager, and now I am the volunteer programs coordinator. Before I proceed, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to be here today to present to you some fantastic data and some great things that are taking place at corrections. I would like to thank Warden Williams and Deputy Warden Page for allowing me to be here and represent Santa Fe County Corrections and to be a part of this elite group behind me. And then finally, I'd like to thank my immediate supervisor, Melissa Oberg, for taking me underneath her wing for over 4 years now and mentoring me. So thank you, everybody. So when you hear of programs, you may not think of much. The community may not think of much. But in corrections, it's a very big deal. It is integrated and it is weaved into the operations of our facility to make sure that those who are in our care have a better success rate, a better chance at being reintegrated into the community and given a better chance with equipping them with tools and knowledge. So why we offer programs? Though they are not required, the administration and myself have recognized the need for programs. The opportunity to assist and influence those in our care to choose a healthier lifestyle, so those in our care can obtain the tools and confidence they need to be reintegrated back into the community and be successful. So our volunteers, we have currently 40 volunteers scattered throughout Santa Fe County that assist us with our programming. I will say that they are the best 40 volunteers that Santa Fe County has. And how do I know this? It's because of the selection and the rigorous process that takes place for these volunteers to be able to work at our facility. Their backgrounds scanned, their backgrounds are ran, and they must be cleared before proceeding. They are vouched for by the organizations that they're with. They must have and provide a letter of recognition by their supervisors or the leaders of those organizations. And they must also be able to submit certifications or degrees, something that can be documented showing that they are able to teach. They must be active members for a lengthy time in those particular organizations and successfully complete our in-house orientation. Currently, like I said before, we have 40 New Mexico volunteers, and all of these programs are conducted via Zoom online since the inception of COVID. Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous describe themselves as a nonprofit fellowship or society of men and women for whom alcohol and drugs had become a major problem and saw a desperate need for change. Both programs use a 12-step model to help recognize addiction, learn to forgive themselves and others that they've hurt, reconcile with those whom they've hurt, and ultimately to overcome alcohol and drug addiction. As you heard from the speaker before me, my colleague, he's a part of these programs, and he's integrated these programs into his lifestyle, and they have worked. And he is a living and breathing success story because of these programs. Alcoholics Anonymous, currently we conduct up to 4 of these classes per week, and we average 3 to 5 participants per class. Throughout the year, that's over 100 individuals. The Narcotics Anonymous classes we conduct up to 5 of these classes per week, once again with an average of 3 to 5 participants per class. I would like to share that our volunteers have recently reported that a majority of individuals who participate in Narcotics Anonymous classes at our facility have been attending those meetings once they have been released. So once again, it is working. Yesterday, I received an email from a leader from Narcotics Anonymous, and he gave us some fantastic news that Santa Fe County Adult Detention Facility was the very first jail or prison in the state of New Mexico to begin programming since the inception of COVID via Zoom. Also, he reported that we, at this facility, Santa Fe County Corrections, were a model. We designed a model for programming during COVID that has been followed by several popular states, such as California, Colorado, Georgia, New York, and Florida. So that is something to be said. Another program that we offer to those in our care is Circle of Security. It's a parenting program. It is a 6 to 8 week attachment-based parenting education program that helps parents better understand and build on their relationships with their children. Though through presentations, demonstrations, visual aids, open floor discussions, homework, and take-home material. Yes, these individuals do have homework when they take this class. We are partnered through Growing Up New Mexico, formerly known as United Way of Santa Fe County. They recently changed their name. We have partnered with this program with CYFD. Why is that important? The answer is very simple. We've partnered with CYFD using this particular program in Growing Up New Mexico for several reasons. When an individual goes into our care and they have been mandated by the courts or recommended by the courts to take such classes so that they can be reintegrated into their children's lives, they can actually do it while in our care. What that does is it it sets free the court system so that they can focus on other matters. It helps us out in giving us that satisfaction that we are actually doing something positive. We're not being part of the problem, we're being a part of the solution. This program is actually nationally recognized. You can go to any state within the United States, and this program is recognized, and this program is being taught throughout the United States. These individuals participating in this program, they receive certificates when they have successfully completed the program. So yes, there is hard evidence that they've completed it, and they can present it to whomever they choose. We have an average of 4 to 6 participants every 6 to 8 week class that takes place. We do like to keep these classes going nonstop. There are times that our volunteers do need to take a break. They are not machines. Sometimes they like to go on vacation. Sometimes they get sick. Things happen. Life happens. So sometimes we do have to take a break, but we always get going again. Currently, I would like to state that we have 20 participants, both men and women, who have successfully completed this program in the last several months. Our domestic violence class is one of our, if not our newest addition to our 5 major programs. And this program is to raise awareness, educate participants on the many forms of domestic violence, and provide tools to recognize and overcome abuse through focused topics, visual aids, open floor discussion, and take-home material. We've partnered through Esperanza Shelter, and this class is taught by Miss Molly Conway. I will say that she is a fantastic teacher and she is very knowledgeable. This is our newest addition to programming. Unfortunately, there is no data that can be accrued for 2021. This program just started in January of 2022, but I can assure you there will be data by the end of the year. As of February 2022, just last month, we've already conducted 4 classes, and we have an average of 5 to 8 participants per session. And finally, the last major program that we offer is religious meetings. These programs or meetings offer a time of communion among fellow brothers and sisters of a common faith, to offer an opportunity for those in our care to have their spiritual cup filled and gain knowledge in their religious belief systems. We currently offer Catholic, Baptist, non-denominational, and Native prayer circle. Currently, we conduct up to 4 of these meetings per week, and we average about 4 to 6 participants per meeting. Sir, if you'd be so kind as to go 2 slides back, I'd greatly appreciate that. 1 more, please. Thank you. You'll see here on this slide, this is a perfect illustration of the material that is taught in Circle of Security, our parenting program. You'll see there on the left side of that document that there are hands open. That is to represent the secure base that is laid out for parents to nurture their children. And the bottom hand is a safe haven, or represents a safe haven for their children. Once they've went out of the circle to explore, they can always be reassured that they can come back in to be secured in their parents' arms. Circle of Security teaches to always be the bigger, wiser, kinder parent. And whenever possible, follow the children's needs. And whenever necessary, take charge. If you would be so kind as to go to the next slide. Here is an outline of our domestic violence class. It is a syllabus of what is looked at, what is talked about during the sessions. And some of these topics are very sincere, deep, and intimate. What is domestic abuse? The forms of domestic abuse, the cycle of abuse, types of power and control, signs of abuse, why people stay in abusive relationships, safety planning, how can I help someone who is experiencing domestic violence, and of course, at the end, information on how to get help. If you would be so kind as to go to the next slide. Here are some fun facts for everybody. You'll notice here that Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and the Circle of Security Parenting Program, these are our numbers, are the number of classes that we have conducted in the last 3 months of 2021. You'll notice there at the end, totaling all of these classes is 110 classes in 3 months. So in a year, that is a lot of classes. That is over 300 classes, more than that. We have already conducted 6 parenting class sessions as of January 2022. And like I said prior, 4 domestic violence classes as of February 2022. If we go to the next slide, please. Next up here, we have some more data for you on our religious meetings. In the last 3 months of 2021, we have conducted 50 of those meetings. So if you were to take the 110 classes that of our rehabilitative classes that we've done, as well as these 50 religious meetings that we've done, that's quite a bit in the last 3 months. We like to keep the individuals in our care very busy. And then finally, library, I will say, is a very, very popular activity. Reading is very big within the confines of Santa Fe County Corrections. And those numbers that you see there are just how many individuals check out books each month. Next slide, please. And finally, here is an overview or a visual aid to show you all, to show everybody what a typical work week looks like regarding programming. We have 4 different classrooms that program shares with reentry as well as behavioral health. So it is important that we work as a team and we communicate based on times. And we do offer 2 to 4 classes per day. None of this programming would be possible if the facility wasn't safe. If we worked in a facility that was not safe, was not secure, for both those in our care as well as staff, we would not be able to provide such programming. And that type of security is presented to us by none other than our Chief of Security, Major Carlos Marksman Lopez. And at this time, I would like him to come up. Thank you.
Madam Chair, County Commissioners, County Manager Miller. My name is Carlos Markman Lopez. I'm the Chief of Security. I'm proud to say that I've been there for 21 years. Looking forward to retirement really soon, hopefully the next 10 years. I am in charge of the safety and security of the entire facility. I'm working really close with all these departments to provide security to the inmates, staff, public, visitors, in general. I communicate pretty much with, the middleman communication between my staff and the wardens, again, to keep a secure facility. I have, under me, I have 2 captains, I have 7 lieutenants, I have 11 sergeants, 4 corporals, and once we fill all the positions, 79 officers. I'm in charge of, I can say, 24/7 security-wise, weekends, holidays. Me along with my 2 captains and my command staff. Right now, I want to say thank you for my supervisors that are at the facility right now, and to everybody here with me. I have a great team. We communicate daily, and can you move that next slide there? This is just a short being an incident. Of course, we know that every detention facility we have incidents. This can go from something really minor to a disturbance or bigger than that, death. Thank God we don't have as many as you can see up there. The last 3 months of the year, October, November, December, we have 55 total incidents. 23, 15, and 17. This morning before I came, I collected a report on the incidents from the first quarter, which ended yesterday, January, February, and March. And I had in the month of January, I had 10 incidents. In the month of November, I had 11, and March, 16, for a total of 37 in 3 months. And of course, this is due to the population coming down, an average of 230. It goes up and down, but that's where we are right now. You have any questions for me?
On this topic? Yeah, Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. And just to know, that I'm happy to hear that the incidents are going down. That is always a good indication. And so
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Or at this point? Okay, so I think we'll do all the rest of the general questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, and County Manager Miller. My name is Miles Martinez, and I'm the Security Threat Intelligence Unit and Canine Coordinator at our facility. Right now, my unit consists of 2 employees, myself, as well as 1 other investigator. Both of us are trained canine handlers. Both of our dogs are certified through multiple entities, the NPCA as well as NNDDA, for narcotic detection. And we use them primarily for narcotic detection, so they are single-purpose dogs. So basically, our unit, we monitor and investigate our inmate population with the specific intent of identifying security threats as well as criminal activity. Those investigations aren't limited to facility confines, as we work hand in hand with outside law enforcement, such as state police, but most commonly the Santa Fe County detectives. There is, a large amount of contraband introduction attempts that we work hand in hand with them. The reason we're working with them is so that we can hold the people, the civilians on the streets, accountable for their hand in it as well, because it is them that's going to be facilitating, that specific type of criminal activity in the facility. Okay. So if we can go to the first slide, please, or the next slide. Okay. So right here, as you can see, this is Suboxone. If you're not familiar with it, they're sublingual strips intended to combat opioid addiction. Okay, so we've had multiple individuals from these departments come up and speak on the abuse of Suboxone. So just to put in perspective, this is typically a fine that we'll have on an individual that has this substance in their possession, gets arrested, brings it in, doesn't necessarily get found by the arresting agency, or they don't turn it over. So this is something that we find after the fact, which is a smaller amount. So the recovery location for this one was found in Booking. The estimated in-house value of this substance, of what you see right there in that picture, is $5,600, okay? So just to kind of put it to scale, 1 strip of Suboxone on the street could be anywhere from $2 up to $10, or free if you're on Medicaid and have a prescription for it. $800 for one of those strips in our facility right now. So it's a really high number, but it's actually good that it is so high of a number, because that means that that there's very little of it in our facility. When there's a lot of it, that's when you see the prices start to go down, okay? So a little bit on the pricing of it. We verify pricing, or I verify pricing through informants that we have in the facility, and I'll also verify those prices monitoring phone calls and seeing what the types of transactions are. So anytime there is the sale of drugs within our facility, there has to be a communication to outside sources who are the ones collecting money and exchanging money, and the inmates who are either purchasing or selling the items. So that's how we verify those prices, okay? Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Okay. So this is a whole different type of contraband interdiction. So this particular individual packaged all of these Suboxone strips along with fentanyl pills, tobacco, and methamphetamine, and this is specifically for the purpose of selling within the facility. Okay? And we'll just kind of go over the substances so you guys can kind of see it at that point. So there's 215 strips of Suboxone at $800, 12 pills of Suboxone, which goes for the same price, $800, fentanyl, same price, and 0.5 grams of meth, which that probably equates to around $200 in the facility right now. So the recovery location was an individual that came in and was housed in medical. They bypassed booking because they had some type of a medical concern. Luckily, our staff was able to identify abnormal behavior, look more into this individual, and that resulted in this finding right here, okay? The fentanyl is something that we're seeing a lot more common, which is a lot bigger concern for us right now, specifically because these people that are using these substances on the street, when they come and they're incarcerated, they don't have the same tolerance as they used to when they're out on the streets. So when stuff like this comes in and hits, if they try to use the same amounts that they used to, that's immediate cause for an overdose. So this is something that we've been really devoting a lot of attention to, okay? So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is just pictured again, and it has a breakdown. I just kind of want to focus on the estimated in-house value, $196,200 for that one specific individual's load coming in. Our booking staff, medical staff, our general security staff is doing an outstanding job of identifying these behaviors. Not only security staff, but our behavioral health staff, programming, everything like that. It's really good because they have a lot of interaction with these inmates, and they can easily detect abnormalities in behavior, specifically because of how much contact they have with them. So they convey it to myself or other security staff members. We're able to investigate it, and a lot of times, get these contraband interdictions out of that. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, let's see. So this is basically what information is conveyed in this slide here is just the increase in fentanyl that's been seen on the streets. So back in 2018, 290,304 versus 2021, 9,649,551. So it's not just in Santa Fe County or just in New Mexico. This is nationwide that this, we're facing this new substance that you guys hear, on the news every day, just especially most recently for spring break. We have people, there was a case out of Florida, at least 6 people overdosed. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Same thing in Colorado. And it's, the biggest thing is it's coming as a raw chemical, and it's not pharmaceutical grade like you get from a hospital. So one pill is not going to contain the same amount of fentanyl that another pressed pill is going to contain. So those are just, some of the issues that we're facing now that we're really working hard to combat. Okay. I believe that's the last slide. Double check for me. Okay, so this is going to be the last slide. So just in perspective, these are lethal doses of these substances. So Heroin, you can see there, it pretty much fills the bottom of the vial. You scoot over to fentanyl, and it's really speckled throughout. And then carfentanil, which is the most potent, that little tiny speck can kill you, okay? So that's, what you see street law enforcement, they'll, find a substance, they'll open it up to field test it with a presumptive narcotic identification kit, and they end up overdosing just based off of inhaling a small amount of this substance. So luckily, we haven't seen a whole lot of this in the facility, but that doesn't mean it's not coming yet. Luckily, it's been, in pill press form, which is, I'd say, safer to handle, of course, in the raw substance. But this just kind of puts in perspective really how delicate the situation is. Now, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Is that the end of the presentation, Warden? Are you gonna?
Yes, it is. We'll stand for any questions.
Absolutely. So, Commissioners, I know there were two. I'm going to start with Rudy because he had started with, I'm sorry, Rudy, with Commissioner Garcia first. Did you have some general comments or questions?
Madam Chair, I already know where to start, actually, as into when Santa Fe County built our jail in the year 2000. And our jail is not a prison. It's actually a revolving door, which,
Commissioner Garcia?
and the presentation, yes.
I think your audio is cutting in and out, your microphone. So we're hearing several words and then missing a short clip. It's just going silent. So.
Give me a minute, have the other commissioners go forward.
Okay, if you can correct, that's great, thanks. I'll get back to you. Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have lots of questions. It's good to see you all again. Enjoyed my last visit to the facility and was very impressed at that time. I guess I just have one general question, which is and I want to say I think the programs sound really, really good, but it seemed to me that with a population of 230 people a day average, not a huge percentage of the people were taking advantage of the programs. And is that because they're just not there long enough, or are there not enough programs, or why would you say if we have these successful programs, more people aren't participating?
Yeah, Commissioner, so a couple things. One is, of course, staffing. We have our behavioral health therapists and then our volunteer services, and that's basically the extent of the staffing that we have for services. A lot of it depended on volunteers who come in. And we, of course, try to focus on the programs that we think serve the largest needs of the inmates. When we first started putting together a list of programs that we thought were essential to run, we actually went to the inmate population and conducted town halls, and we met with them directly and asked them what kind of needs that they recognized were most viable to them going back to the community. And it always had to do with mental health, substance abuse, parenting, and those. So we focus mostly on those to do what we get the most we can from the staff that we have available. But of course, when staffing is minimal, we're really restricted. And when COVID hit, a lot of the housing units that we were using for specific programs had to go away because we had to create quarantine, isolation, and different housing units to combat COVID. So those are all different variables that fit into that. And then, yes, you're right in the beginning, our inmate population is very transient, so they come in and out very rapidly. So the amount of time they're there to complete a program is very minimal.
Okay, thank you. I guess one other question I had, I saw that very large percentage of the inmates had behavioral health diagnoses. It seemed like, I think it maybe even said like about 70%, but I wondered what percentage actually have substance abuse issues?
Do we know that, Mark? Do you have that?
Commissioner, we would rank that we'd have 100% of those individuals having a co-occurring substance abuse disorder.
Okay, I suspected it was close to that, but thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, great. Other commissioners? Commissioner Henry?
Madam Chair, this is,
Commissioner Garcia, did you fix your audio problem?
I'm trying to fix it. Hopefully it's fixed.
Well, yeah, that sounds better.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be, back when we built our county jail in the year 2000, sounds like I'm echoing. Hold on. When we built our jail back in the year 2000, as Manager Miller knows, we built that jail in the year 2000. You know, one thing that I would actually like to talk about is Pablo Cedillo. Pablo Cedillo actually was our public safety director for many, many years, and he since has retired. And he actually ran our jail, our facility, for the last 5-7 years, as Manager Miller knows. Warden, you did an excellent presentation, you and your staff. Very good, great presentation, because people don't realize, and I tell people this all the time, as in, you know, that facility out there in State Road 14, every taxpayer pays what our budget is for that facility. And the city does not pay one dime for that, but we do as a taxpayer for Santa Fe County. And Warden, you and your staff and your 203 employees, plus more, you guys did an excellent presentation today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
Yes, no, not a problem. And you know, I have all these notes that I'm talking about because as an individual that has been incarcerated in that facility, and the personal and professional items that happen in that facility, I see it. And when you and your staff did actually an excellent presentation as into just the stuff you all do with fentanyl, the stuff you do with the lieutenant that I met at the rodeo grounds when he was trying to recruit people, you know, our HR staff. Like I said, Pablo Cedillo, you know, he's not there no more. It's just behavioral health issues. You know, as Manager Miller taught me a while back, under the Reagan administration, we closed mental institutions and limited what in our facility, because we all pay taxes. You know, our facility is not to incarcerate and take care of the people that are challenged, but we do, and we try our hardest. And the gentleman and the doctor and the nurse that talked about it, it's like, you know what? We actually, as Santa Fe County, we do an excellent job in our facility. We're actually accredited by New Mexico counties, as you all know, which you guys all worked on. New Mexico County say, you know, Santa Fe County is one of the top facilities in the state out of 33 counties. Yes, we are. And it's just a challenging community effort that we're working on, and get a little bit teary-eyed because it's something that we need to work on, and we are working on it. In Santa Fe County, the warden and your entire staff, Warden, we actually are doing an excellent job for Santa Fe County as into all the different programs that we have. And some people have not been in that institution or that facility, but as you mentioned, and your staff, we do an excellent job. Even working with the Sheriff's Department as your technician. And Madam Chair, I just wanted to mention that because sometimes our community does not realize that, you know, that's a big taxpayer's portion of our budget. And we're trying to help out the community because we are. That's what it's about. And sometimes we get curveballs thrown at us, however, we're trying to work with our community. And Santa Fe County is doing an excellent job as into what we need to do with the warden and his staff. Thank you for your entire staff, Warden. It's not just, it's all of us, right? And I just wanted to bring that forward because sometimes our community doesn't realize what Santa Fe County does for our community, and bring that forward. Thank you, Warden, and your entire staff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Garcia. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Garcia. Are there other questions? Commissioner Hanson, and then Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone from the corrections facility for coming here and giving this excellent presentation after we have missed a number of years because of COVID. It is really good to welcome you into the chambers and to hear and see this presentation. It is heartwarming to know the dedication of all of you who work at the corrections facility, because I believe that is one of the hardest jobs in Santa Fe County. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your hard work, and especially the medical team and the behavioral health, because it is the truth. Jails are de facto mental health institutions, and it just, we at Santa Fe County have been working on to provide better behavioral health services throughout my tenure here, and this was a really rewarding presentation. So I just want to thank all of you for making the effort to be here, and I'm looking forward to having the tour with the warden, and I'm also really happy that the warden was part of my strategic planning group and that we had such a good team. So thank you, warden, and thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I almost forgot, several of my constituents are involved with prison reform issues, and they wanted me to ask where we are. I guess there's something called the Prison Rape Elimination Act, and if you could just talk a minute about what we're doing to prevent sexual assault in the jail.
Yeah, sure, Commissioner. So it's referred to as PREA, as the acronym, Prison Rape Elimination Act. We have a PREA coordinator at the facility. That person is dedicated to, one, we put up literature in all the housing units talking about the PREA. We also have a hotline phone number that's provided to all the housing units, and we educate the inmates on that. So from the moment that an inmate comes into the facility, they retain information regarding that. They're given a hotline number that they can contact, and they have daily access to making phone calls. When we get claims of PREA, then that coordinator is assigned as a coordinator to start working with the individual and investigating the claims, and then of course they're investigating accordingly, and then we make sure that the medical side and everything else is up to par.
So how many a year or a month incidents involving rape or sexual assault do you think you handle?
Well, so we have numerous claims, but I'll tell you that a large majority of them end up being frivolous. We have, unfortunately, the PREA, the Rape Elimination Act, it's been taken advantage of a little bit because we have a lot of inmates who are immature, and they'll make claims over some pretty silly things that don't have to do with what the act was entitled for. So it's labor intensive because we have to investigate every one of those claims and take it severe, but it's a very small portion. I don't have the data with me, Commissioner, but I would say it's 2%, 3% that are ever an actual claim.
Okay, is that data that you provide to us in your reports, like the quarterly reports?
So we provide a quarterly report to, I'm trying to think, do we have that in the quarterly report? In the CQI? So I can get that information for you. In fact, by the time you guys get to the facility, I can have that for you, Commissioner.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to report back to these people that were concerned.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Yes,
it. And I
sir.
really appreciated the presentation. It is very heartwarming that you all are dedicated to doing such a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Commissioner
Madam,
Roy?
this is Commissioner Garcia.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia?
Just one last comment as into the warden and your entire team, medical team and everybody else, individuals that actually, you know, whenever you deal with prison is different than corrections because corrections, the jail's a rotating, revolving door, which is okay. But people in the community that we all live with and we all communicate with, it's just something that we're all taking care of how we need to help out this community because nobody's perfect and everybody has individual issues. And when you talk with your staff, as into all your staff, and the way you run the facility is great because, like I said, and I'm going to say it because to speak the truth, as into, you know what, nobody's perfect out there. And sometimes we have individuals that have some challenges, and we're here at Santa Fe County, and you and your team, Mr. Warden, to take care of what we need to take care of. Because we all live in this community, and a great presentation from your warden and the entire staff. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Roybal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And really, I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you as well for the presentation. It was very informative. Really appreciated being able to see the graphs and all the information. And I'm really glad to see that we are keeping track of how these programs are working. And you know, I just want to say that I appreciate all the hard work and dedication. This will be my last tour as I'm terming out as a county commissioner, but I just wanted to say I've always been impressed by the staff at our detention center, and it's been an honor to work with you. You know, I still have till the end of the year, so I'm not leaving yet, but you know, some of you I get to see the warden fairly often for our BCC meetings, but I don't get to see a lot of the rest of the staff, so I did just want to, you know, bring that up and say, you know, it's been a privilege, and so I look forward to visiting today once again. And I also wanted to say that I'm very impressed to see how successful our programs are doing in our facility. I know a lot of residents of the detention center are short-term, as Commissioner Hughes asked about the numbers, and I know a lot of the I guess our residents within the detention center sometimes are only there for a day or two, and I think that's probably the majority only going for a short time for, you know, DWI or whatnot. You know, there's a lot of different, even sometimes just not for paying a speeding ticket and you know, getting a bench warrant. So a lot of times they're in and out, but I really love the program and the way that you guys have you know, brought this forward, and just hearing the success stories that we heard. You know, but I hope that if there are other individuals that are out there that could take advantage of this service, that we do have more individuals, and whatever you guys need from the commissioners so that we can expand services if necessary, please let us know. We'll always stand by your side. So thank you guys, and I appreciate the presentation today.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I think, you know, this has been a very useful and informative. Everybody did great presentations. I think it set us up well for the on-site visit, and although, you know, most of us have been there, and, you know, as you see more and you become more familiar, you know more questions to ask and whatnot, but still, this kind of background and the up-to-date statistics are really valuable. So we really, really appreciate that. And I think if that is everything, we could adjourn, but I would go to maybe Manager Miller or you, Warden, if you're the one that knows for the next steps of adjourning here and going to the facility. Or, oh, thank you, Deputy Manager.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I have some paper here for you that breaks us out into 3 different groups, and I'll give these to you momentarily. Logistically, I know
Madam Chair,
staff
can you
brought-
can you have him identify himself? Thank you.
Definitely, Elias Bernardino, Deputy County Manager. The staff brought a van if we want to carpool. I'm willing to drive somebody if you'll need, or you can drive yourself. I believe we can recommend to adjourn after this. I'm not too sure. County Attorney?
So I believe, just to clarify, the idea was to adjourn the public meeting. The site visit and inspection will be conducted in such a way, as will the traveling, so that we don't have a quorum of commissioners together at the same time. So a motion to adjourn would be appropriate. But again, so the public is aware, the commissioners will be visiting and inspecting the facility in groups of less than 3.
Excellent. Thank you both very much. I think we're clear on everything now. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move,
No, go ahead.
I move to adjourn.
So move, second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at the facility.